Friday, January 6th. Who knows what's next? Our life is in turmoil. Talking about the week that was, the week in poetry. It's your poetry vlog. That's what I'm here for. I can move this down here. Is that better? Just going to talk about the events in poetry this week. I had an interview. I do want to talk about the interview because I feel like I fucked it up. You know, I've just been waiting my whole life. I don't get interviewed that often, but I think it's one of my favorite things. I'm practically in interview mode all the time anyway. I feel like I'm constantly preparing for interviews. My whole body of work, in a certain way, is just like answers to interview questions. So, I don't get to use these life skills that often. But I do want to live stream because honestly, live streaming is the biggest like viewership that I have. The live streaming. I posted a bunch of videos this week, which I think people sort of watch at their leisure. I posted about I don't even know 5 hours of like vlog videos. I've got a new one coming. I just finished it yesterday. I'll probably premiere it next week. It includes New Year's and Christmas. It's my special Christmas New Year's episode. It's a yearly tradition. I guess when you're doing diary works, it's inevitable that you're going to have holiday episodes every year. Always have a Halloween episode. I don't know if I've really done a Thanksgiving episode because I haven't really had a Thanksgiving in a long time. I usually eat food from the grocery store out of a plastic container. $12. It was really good actually this year. The turkey Gristetti's has an excellent Thanksgiving spread. So I don't know. More than anything, I'm just hoping I don't get evicted. There's subpoenaing my live streams. I can't be too transparent about it. My lawyers are telling me not to talk about it on the air. And by lawyers, I mean me. I'm representing myself, of course. I really do think that, like, I was watching this guy, Caleb something. He's a socialist. And a lot of the energy in that kind of socialist push kind of has ebbed, let's say, since Biden came in. And, I don't know, things that were sort of exciting, that felt like they were entering the culture as far as like organization, people protesting like their landlords, right? This is something that's just out of control in our society. It's like we have more than enough housing for everybody, more than enough food for everybody, and yet because of our sort of economic system, people go without, people get kicked out on the street, people get evicted. The guy was saying, you know, socialism doesn't take away the profit motive. It just distributes the profits evenly amongst the workers. It's worker-owned cooperatives, things like that, rather than capitalism, where the capitalists. It's inherent, I think, in capitalism that there will be capitalists, people with capital, and proletariat, people who just work. That's just inherent in the system, whereas socialism, it's inherent that it's a worker-owned. So of course we want that. But the elites in America don't want that, and they spend a lot of time and effort pulling the wool over our eyes to sort of get us divided against each other. This housing thing is just an example of that. They shouldn't be allowed to bully you around like this and throw their power. You know, we have a right to a place to live, to a nice place to live, to a nice life. The last 2 years have been sort of like an experiment or like a demonstration of what sort of a utopic, at least for me, not necessarily that like I was contributing anything to society in any kind of like, significant way as deemed by our economic system, but I have people telling me constantly what an important thing this open mic provides. People regularly tell me, thank you for doing this. This is really important. We need this. New York needs this. Well, if it's so needed, how is there no fucking money in it? How, I mean, or how is the economic system so predatory to it? It's like the police, it's a super ego, right? They want to stop the cruise. Every time the party gets going, every time the orgasms start happening and the fun starts and the people behave like human beings again and they start to connect, that's when the landlord energy, that's when the cop energy, that's when the super ego moves in and has to crush it out. It's just a shame that this is the New York City we live in, because the impression, right, that I get, the 70s, 80s, 90s, or whatever, the people ran the city to some degree. The police didn't have that much power. The landlords didn't have that much power. You could go months without paying your rent, this or that. They were still living in the wake of the socialism of the early part of the 20th century. All this worker organization that happened, the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire and all that shit. I mean, KGB bar. Emma Goldman would print pamphlets in the KGB bar. They'd have their social meetings there. They're related, right? Poetry, the arts, and socialism group. The guy was saying fascism is planned degrowth. And they have to kill people, they have to kill parts of the economy. I don't know exactly why. But maybe we are going through an inevitable period of kind of, the post-war kind of expansion. Now we're sort of living in a contracting, we got to have another war, clearly, to really kickstart this economy. Well, I don't know. The economy, the thing that, it's hard to tell what 2023 is going to be, but it's going to be different than 2021 and 2022 is what the experts are saying, the astrologists, the tarot people. And there's supposed to be a recession. It's sort of like everybody's saying it's inevitable, there's all these workers in the building. There's sweeping and drilling and sawing, and I'm trying to live stream in here, god damn it. So there's supposed to be a recession in 2023, but they said it's a rich session. Like, we're seeing the stock market lose a lot of value. We're seeing a lot of these stocks tank. Tesla stock tanking. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I mean, we have been living in the trickle-down economics paradigm since the 80s, which to me, just in and of itself, is kind of an insulting idea. The rich people make a bunch of money. It trickles down to the rest of us. Trickle. We need to redesign this. We need to the jobs report came out today. The jobs growth is still, it's slowed, but it's still strong. So that's good, I guess. One of the things I was reading is just like whenever wages grow up and when there's job growth, that's one of the prime indicators that inflation is coming. Which, like, to me, that just seems like a flawed system. Like, if the wages are going up, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to. Well, they said the business owners will pass the costs on to the customer by raising their prices. I mean, the business owner should have to eat some of the fucking cost. Like, inflation isn't like a law of nature. It's not inevitable. It's like a choice that these people make. So the rich session You know what I think happened when they gave all the stimulus money? People cranked it into the stock market. They cranked it into crypto. That's why the crypto thing seemed like it was a good investment for about 5 seconds in 2020 before it all completely tanked because there's no there there. You know, it was just they printed all this extra money. It made it look like there was all this extra value in the stocks, which wasn't real. And now it's disappeared because of just like everybody's money's disappeared, right? Like everybody's stimulus money ran out, or it's, you know, we're getting to the end of kind of like the pandemic was weirdly like this experiment in universal basic income and remote work, getting rid of the 40-hour, you know, it was this kind of socialist, futurist. They kind of gave the proletariat a break in a weird way. I mean, everybody got money. The rich people got a lot of money. The poor people only got some money, but to them it was more money than they ever had. Probably everybody I know, it was the most money they ever had, was the unemployment that they got during the pandemic. And that was the inflation, right? They had to take it all back. Now the housing market is tanking. They can't give, you know, now they're having to give people cash and stuff to buy houses, right? Remember how hot the housing market was 2 years ago? So I guess we're seeing the kind of the withdrawal symptoms, right, from the high of just the cash bonanza of 2020, 2021. Suddenly everybody had 20 grand in their bank account. Everybody's live streaming, everybody's recording music, moving to New York. You know, how will this affect the New York real estate market? If the stock market tanks, if the banks tank, that could only be good. If the tech companies lay off a bunch of people, that can only be good. You know, in a certain way, like, I don't know, it would be nice if poor people could just be left alone. You know, the problem is that we're in the situation where we have to work ourselves to death just to make ends meet, which is just not fair. And I've seen a better way. The pandemic, you know, the last 2 years have been the better way. Uh, Now we're heading towards what? Probably another world war. Maybe a real recession. I mean, someday there's got to be. We've got to pay the piper. You know, there can't just be all this imaginary. It's just weird because we have this imaginary economy, but then we have this very real economy of like goods and services, and yet they'll just throw the goods away. You know, they'll leave it in the store. They have a bunch of excess potatoes or whatever that they've grown. They'll just throw them away. Don't feed poor people with that. That's real. You know, that's a tangible object. That's not like, oh God, no one's watching my live stream. I don't care. No one ever watched my live streams. Okay, so I had this interview. It was very swanky. I felt, you know, I felt special. I felt special that like someone take an interest. And I mean, what could be better than being interviewed? There's just nothing better. Just telling your thoughts. You know, it's one of my favorite literary genres. I think it's underrated as a genre. There should be more interview. My Dinner with Andre is kind of an interview. Um, but it's also talking, and it's a way of talking about life. So maybe that's something I like about it. It's almost like storytelling or like sitting around the hearth listening to somebody, you know, tell you about their past, or I don't know. It's face to face. I guess not always, but I don't know. This was pretty cool the way it was set up. I mean, we were originally just gonna do it here. To be honest, I was super tired because last weekend was Friday night. I was just busy all week, you know, doing stuff. Friday night was collating party. Saturday was New Year's Eve. So I walked up to freaking, Midtown. I was up till 4 in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning. I had to work all day New Year's Day. I literally had to work 12 hours New Year's Day filming. I worked practically the whole goddamn marathon. Probably 90% of it I was there. And then Monday was the open mic. So Ashley says she wants to do, the intrepid reporter from the Columbia Journal says she wants to do the interview Tuesday night. And I was so fucking tired. I mean, plus the weather was nice outside, so I felt like an obligation to like get out and like upload my shit, and I went to the store, and I was just so fucking tired. I can't remember the last. I've been eating gluten and cheese, I've had pizza, so like that adds to like my narcolepsy, drowsiness. So I was just like, I had taken a nap. Literally, I took a nap from like 7 to like 8:30. I think we were supposed to meet at 7:30. So I ended up meeting them at like 9:30 or something at the Chelsea Hotel. We met at El Quijote in the Chelsea Hotel. What a swanky, that's where you should conduct a real interview. It was very profesh. Not that there was an expense account or anything, but, doing an interview like in a hotel restaurant. What could be more, prestigious, A-list, and adult than that? I mean, we're there. We're in the Chelsea Hotel. I'm doing an interview for Columbia Journal. This is the dream come true. This is my sort of like, modest, I don't know, but cool, truthful, authentic, as real as it gets. I mean, fucking Skylar lived in the Chelsea Hotel. When I'm walking out the doors, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is James Skylar's front door. When he went to the fucking bodega, he probably went to the same goddamn bodegas I go to, I mean, not that they were open then. I wonder if he ever went to the Chelsea Gourmet Deli or the Chelsea Florist. I mean, it's literally right around the corner. It's crazy, right? I think he died in 91. So that was his front fucking door. I mean, it was a completely different place, right? It was scary and dangerous and decaying, and now it's $700 a night, boutique hotel for Anthony Kiedis and a bunch of finance criminals, bankers, investors, tech criminals, the tech monopoly that's stolen our consciousness. Oh, it's raining. I don't give a fuck, man. I have to fight. Somebody has to fight. Somebody has to be a splinter, a holdout. Somebody has to do it, no matter what it takes, at all costs. Somebody's got to put their ass on the line. Tonight is Pete's reading series. I'm looking forward to that. So, yeah, Chelsea Hotel. And I was just tired. I smoked a joint before I went in. They said I reeked of marijuana. I thought that's what they wanted. To be honest, okay, I can remember doing 3 interviews, since 2014. I remember, 4, I guess. I did one for Bedford and Bowery, one for, this girl from Vice Magazine. I guess that wasn't technically an interview. That was more like a pre-interview. I did one for this website. I forget what it was called, but it was there was some kind of travel, nightlife website. And then I did one for this, right? Is this the last one? No. Was there another one? That may have been it. But I always smoked weed before them, which, to be honest, is a mistake. Because, okay, the thing was, the word limit for this is 1,200 words. So that's, I think, about 3 pages, maybe 3.5 pages. Like, so immediately I'm thinking, like, okay, I've got to sort of condense my answers, or like maybe I can't go on at length. Plus, Ashley's friends, Ian and Noah, were there, and they're kind of intimidating. They're just like, they're very intimidating. They're menacing. Her friends are all menacing. They're like the gang in Blue Velvet. They're like Frank Frank Booth's gang. They just kind of get in your face and just kind of stare at you. And you're kind of like, I feel like Jeffrey. I'm just like, please don't hurt me. Trying to maintain my cool, trying to, while they're punching me and making fun of me. They just roast you constantly. It's just all negs. It's all negging all the time. Which, for an interview, not necessarily the best. I felt a little bit on guard, I didn't feel like I could just really let it rip or anything, because all of these things, these are all excuses. I don't even remember what the fuck I said. I think I said a few smart things. Hopefully I said enough smart things for 1,200 words, but I was all over the fucking place, to be honest. I was just trying to cover so much ground, and because I was high, I was just like jumping from one subject to the next. Some of the things I said just went nowhere and made no sense. I forgot what the fuck I was talking about mid-sentence a few times. It's not the greatest thing to happen in an interview, I'm sure. To be honest, I just wish she'd write a profile. She's such a great writer. I just wish that she'd write... She was reading this Frank Sinatra Has a Cold profile by Gay Talese from The New Yorker. It's like one of the most famous New Yorker profiles. I wish she'd just do that. Take 1,200 words, take some excerpts from the interview, take some choice nuggets of wisdom and bon mots and whatnot. I did say some smart shit, but I could have done a lot better. I could have gone on for an hour about every fucking question, at least. They were good questions. They were smart questions. In fact, they were so smart I was a little caught off guard. Not really. To be honest, most of the interviews I've done, the questions are... Oh, Thompson. Thompson interviewed me for his podcast. That was the thing it reminded me most of. Because it was very specific to the work. It was specific questions about certain aspects of the work. Like, she asked me about diary. What is it about diary? Or is that important to me? Or, why do I... And also, like, does that prevent me from going to, like, a more reflective mode? Was the word choice that they used. Which, is a pretty smart question for what I do. To be honest, I have doubled down, I think, on the diary aspect. I think it's probably the distinct thing, maybe, about what I do. I can't think of anybody else that's just like a pure diarist, actually. But I think it's like an underrated literary, once again, like The Interview, like letters, author letters. I think these are as legitimate biographies, right? Poets' prose biographies. These are as legitimate of answers, or of literary forms, actually. If you're putting literary thinking, they're as necessary, I think. But there's a casualness to the diary. There's a lot of reasons why I like the diary form, right? It feels like we're in a unique moment technologically to just put yourself in the fucking seat. It's like VR or something. It's like you are in the VR of my life. You're in the being John Malkovich, like Portal, right? Being Matt Proctor. On the 9th floor of my poetry, you get in the filing cabinet or whatever, and you get to be in Matt Proctor consciousness for a few hours, and then you get spit out on the New Jersey Turnpike. Oh, I'm out of water. I still have an hour and 35 minutes to go. This is my gym. This is my mental gymnasium. This is my workout. You know, this is, well, she asked me about prose. She asked me if I ever am going to write prose or would I consider doing that. And part of, I mean, although this is, I suppose, dodging the question, there's a, like I said, I could go on for an hour about every single one of these questions. Um, Maybe I will. Maybe this will be me. I'll do the interview again during this. That's what this will be. I'll give the real answers here. Not that they weren't real answers before, but I felt like they were only kind of partial answers. Or, you know, they weren't bad answers. I don't even remember. You know, it's an interview. It's all, you know, there's going to be usable stuff. But, um, well, part of what I used to do with prose is this. This is basically, this feels the same as when I would sit down with my moleskin and try to write. I mean, although I'm not writing short stories or like fiction or like reviews, I'm not composing, I'm not revising, right? I suppose that's one aspect of prose. To me, prose is sort of like maybe the capitalization. It's capitalism in literature because it's meant to be understandable, it's meant to be comprehensible, and sort of like it's not necessarily as naked of like an expression. It's not gestural. It's not like this sort of more naive human kind of, you know, there wasn't really any such thing as prose until, you know, they had paper and shit. Like everything was like spoken or like sung or a poem or something. Like, you know, they didn't have, as far as I know, right? When the fuck did they invent prose? You know, or like revising, this is sort of the product, I would say, of like print in a way. Like, although you can revise like an oral poem, certainly, in your head, I don't know. What is it about prose? To me, sort of prose is like the traffic patterns, commas, periods, but also the utility. You know, it's work to make prose. Poetry is like a flower, it just grows. You know, you can't. I'm interested in poets' prose, right? This is something I didn't mention in the answer. Is a big part of what I, you know, which is like, you know, you'll see that in the Poetry Project newsletter. I would say Bernadette Mayer is probably the purest example of that. A poet, you know, Bernadette Mayer did not write newspaper articles or magazine pieces or, I guess there is that textbook, this Art of Science Writing. That's a Bernadette Mayer book. That's like prose, I would say. That's like a utilitarian manual. That was more, you know, but something like Utopia or Piece of Cake. It's like that's poet's prose. It is prose, I suppose, but it's not the same as like a poet's novel, like Clear the Range or fucking, you know, Memory, or even like the desire of mothers to please others in letters. That kind of stuff is more like poet's prose, where it's just kind of like it's effusive. It just is what it is. It's sort of, although it may not be first thought, best thought. It's more just like kind of untouched and like virginal. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you know, Gertrude Stein maybe is a good example of like a poet's prose. You know, like it. You know, Alice B. Toklas, I would say, is prose. You know, that the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas is more like a book that's like telling you a fucking story. Even though it's speech, it is narrative, and it's like trying to get a fucking point across. You know, like, whereas, you know, The Making of Americans, is that stuff? I suppose it is prose, but it's very oblique, and it's very kind of like prosaic. Is it prosaic? Doesn't prosaic mean mysterious or something? If something's prosaic, I'm not exactly sure what prosaic is. Maybe I should consult my OED. Um, I don't care. I'm going to the reading tonight. I'm just taking it easy. This is the way I work today. I haven't live streamed in a while. Maybe people will watch it later. Who knows? Maybe not. Um, Poet's prose, I guess, is more indulgent. It's more like art, right? It's not. It's art just because it exists the way it wants to exist. It's not like trying to. You're not trying to sell it to a magazine. It's not. It's not for the Oxford American. It's not for Time magazine. It's. I think drugs have a lot, and there's a lot of reasons. You need a certain economic setup, and probably a job. Like I think having an assignment probably helps you write prose, or like I don't know. To me, my body. This is something we got into the interview in a weird way. Is like my health problems. Because to be honest, that does play into my aesthetic and why I do what I do. For in a lot of ways. I can't sit down and drink coffee and write 4,000 words a day like I would like to. That's how I tried to live when I was in college, trying to be a short story writer or writing a novel. It was like drink black coffee and just crank out as much fucking word count as I possibly could. Like I'm fucking Stephen King. I wanted to be, Don DeLillo or, Michael Chabon was probably the closest thing to what I was doing. Or like Salinger. There was elements of like magical realism. I loved 100 Years of Solitude. That was probably my favorite book. I love James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist. I read that, when I was like 19 or whatever. But I would say my prose was more like Michael Chabon or, I was trying to write short stories for the New Yorker, basically. McSweeney's shit, I was trying to sort of write Dave Eggers. I didn't love Dave Eggers, but like he was kind of the young wonder kind of the 2000s, I suppose. That was before Tao Lin. Tao Lin went to NYU, so he was already embedded in New York from like the early 2000s. Like, his first stuff started coming out probably in 2006, 7, 8, sometime in there. I mean, he did a lot of shit on the internet, maybe even earlier than that. I don't even fucking know. We were talking about Ben Lerner last night. Ben Lerner is kind of like the white guy of the millennial class, I guess. He's kind of Gen X, though. He might be more Gen X, I suppose. He was born in the 70s, I think. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think Ben Lerner was born in the 70s. Maybe I'm wrong, but he was nominated for the National Book Award in 2003 when he was like 25 or something. So, like, Ben Lerner was on the scoreboard, like, way before anybody. And Jonathan Aprea was talking, not to name names. I don't want to get in trouble or, like, people were threatening that they might cancel me because I film people without their permission. Maybe I should talk about that and address that issue, but and naming it, I don't know. To me, it's like the camera phones, not the surveillance society, but like everybody's filming everything, and like it's the natural progression of autofiction. The fact that like Kerouac couldn't put names in his book, it's like on the one hand that's a good thing, I think, but on the other hand, like come on, like the New York school names, right? They're not coming up with fake names for people. It's like Frank, John, you know who the fuck they're talking about, Anne, like, they're not coming up with pseudonyms. It's very realistic and daily, and, the first question, well, fuck, maybe I should stay on this one for a second. but drugs have a lot to do with it, I think. And also just like I don't want to interrupt my life to sit down and write every day like it's a job. I think, I'm too much a performer. The last 10 years of my life and in New York, when I moved to New York, I told myself I want to be more in touch with my body. I feel disconnected from my body. I want to use my body more because I was sitting and writing 8 hours a day or whatever it was. And I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. Sitting at my big oak desk with, black coffee and an IKEA cup, or going to the library or going to a coffee shop and just sitting there. And, this was back when I had a job or I had, so having time to write was like, oh my God, like, you got to fight. When am I going to write my book? Oh, I got to fight my job to have time to, like, generate my prose. And like I wrote my ass off for a while, and like I don't even know if I had 100 pages of a book. I'm sure, I guess I did, but like when I started to type it up, I was like, fuck, like how am I going to come up with 300 pages of story, right? Like I just didn't even know what I was going to write about for 300 pages. Maybe if I increased the font size or double space it or something. But to me, the benefit, or like the purpose or the function, or the like the facility that short stories provided, like the sanctuary, was like it was a place for the imagination. I was coming from trying to write plays and screenplays, which are a very like anemic form as far as literary forms go, because you're basically just a middle ground between the idea and the film or whatever itself. And just like you're talking through dialogue basically and description. It's like the writing really doesn't matter, actually. Like the writing is just like, here's the blueprint and the notes for what we're gonna do, but like it doesn't matter the language you use really to describe the situation, because nobody's ever gonna fucking read it. We were talking about the Proust screenplay last night by Harold Pinter. I have a vlog about that from like 2013. But then suddenly in short stories, it's just like you can just let your pen go and you're making the whole world. You're describing the environment, you're describing the character's clothes. It's just like you're building everything out of the language. And so at that point, I don't know why, but there was just like, it felt like even culturally, but specifically amongst my friend group, there was this urge to like, you had to have like everybody was trying to prove that they had imagination. They could come up with crazy ideas, like sort of like Arrested Development. That show just like came up, they came up with so many different fucking ideas, and they would combine them all together in just like this crazy way. Or like Tenenbaums was like that. There were all these kind of wild. Family Guy was just like, they would do shit that was like really out of left field and zany and kind of like, how'd they think of that? That's like, Adult Swim was like that, right? C-Lab 2021. It's like these ideas are just like fucking crazy, and they're really off the wall, and that's like imagination. And like, to be honest, a lot of my work before that, I don't know that it didn't have it, but like now it felt like, oh, we have to prove this. I was more or less, my model was like Truffaut. I wanted to write movies about my life, and or Woody Allen, right? Or Seinfeld, Larry David type stuff. I basically wanted to like write movies about my life, or about the like I wrote a movie about avoiding the war, like, and student loans and shit like that in like 2003. And so there was imagination, but it was like, it wasn't like, oh, these characters have like I wrote this screenplay that was like more trying to be bigger. First of all, I wanted to write movies I could shoot, which I have no money. So it was like, that ruled out anything that like wasn't my life, basically. Clothes I already had, locations I had. So that was one thing that led me to like being interested in diary, or like reality, I guess. Was just like, your economics are your aesthetics, right? And movies cost a lot of money. I mean, particularly in the mid 2000s. And so I didn't come up with big off the walls ideas. Like this one screenplay I was developing had a lot more of that stuff. It was about this big family, the Coffey family, and they were rich. They owned a golf course because my friend owned a golf course, and they had like a fucking blimp. One of the scenes was like the blimp crashes. So I was trying to go really big and like, like to prove I had this imagination. It was sort of an Arrested Development ripoff in a way, but it was like a Tenenbaums Glass family. Like one of the characters, like the trumpet player who like won like a MacArthur grant and was like a fucking drug addict and shit. So it was like, my imagination was kind of building this world character by character, and like uh that was a more arduous disciplined process. All of the screenplays I tried to write were like that. Like, okay, I was constantly coming up with ideas and things I wanted to put in movies, but like you had to like figure out how to fit them into a certain narrative, right? You have to write a screenplay that's 90 to 120 pages. One time I wanted to write this Young Lovers on the Run screenplay, right? Every director has to make a Young Lovers on the Run film, like Breathless. Bottle Rocket is sort of like that. Like, they're criminals, they rob somebody, and then they, like, hit the road. So I tried to write, and it's just, like, coming up with 90 pages or something for that. It was like, you had to build it a little bit at a time. With the short stories, it was like you were making it as you were writing it. Generating the material was generating the work. And so there was some sense that like once you wrote it, it was sort of finished, or like you'd revise it or whatever, but it wasn't like, okay, now we got to go shoot this. But I being young, I wanted to live my life, and like I just got more interested in poetry. Poetry is a kind of magic that you apply directly to your life. It's like spell casting. It's like, you know, one of the reasons why I use diary is because we were talking about Dante. When you're using a symbolism from your real life, you're enchanting like Dante constructed this elaborate symbolism. The Inferno, the fucking Purgatory, and the Paradies are like, they're laid out mathematically. So like, he hits this certain part of the geography and he's on the seventh circle on this line, and this line is when this happens, and just like there's such perfect math to it. But it's also he's using things from real life, these people, these politicians, people in Italy, sort of like a New York school. Somebody said, is Dante the first New York school writer? So I was thinking about, what does that mean, It's like, well, he included all these people from his life. It was kind of about cosmopolitan Italian society. But also, like, the metaphorical system was so precise, and he's like, he's measuring it out with, like, this cosmic significance, right? Like, Beatrice is, like, this muse that, like, is the ultimate. And so my thinking is I want to take that same, like the Inferno is constantly like allegorizing punishments for all these characters based on things they did in life, and like it's a very specific metaphorical system, like they're frozen in the mud because they did some fucking, sloth or whatever on Earth, whatever the fuck it is. I don't remember any specific shit, but like to me, it's almost like a Williams thing, where it's like no ideas but in things. Like the thing is the symbol, the thing is the metaphor. When you're using metaphors from your reality, you are reading your reality as if it is a epic poem, or like an Inferno thing where like everything has a significance, everything has a symbolism, a meaning, sort of a communication maybe from a higher. And like it is incarnate of meaning. And so trying to read the symbolism of your own life, trying to write a poem from the symbolism of your own life, is a way of deciphering or measuring out, like Dante's thing is a journey, right? This is he's walking. That's the meter. That is the the pedaling, the pedestrian, the push, and that is the stress, the unstress. So the metaphorical system is making itself as he goes. He's got this poet guide, Virgil, and that is our lives. You know, our lives are these. I mean, what else could they be? You know, they are instruction. They are. There's meaning, right? In coincidence, when things happen to you, uh, that seem beyond. Truth is stranger than fiction, right? This is one reason to write about real life, trying to capture that and decipher that in motion, right? So writing about it, the diary form is like an amber that you can sort of, you know, hold it as it happens, as it's alive. And I think it attaches to reality in a way. The calendar is a metaphor, the calendar is symbolic. The years are symbolic. The calendar of history is symbolic. So why not attach the private metaphorical journey or system of the poet to this greater narrative, this chunk of time? Use real life, use video to capture the actual things as they happen, the groups of poets, the journey, the things that I saw, the guides, the events. What does it mean, right? What does it mean to have a clock across the street? What does it mean to be in this apartment in the sky? It's not an accident, it's God. It's God communicating to us. It's manifestation. So once again, the poem, the speech, is a type of spellcasting. It's a type of magic. And so you have to be careful what you write and what you read out loud at readings, because you're a witch. You know, double toiling, you know. That's what we're doing. Exactly. That's what it is. And so the psychogeography of the land that we occupy, the Lenape land, the layers of history. This is something I've been obsessed with, right, for the past few years. The stories of the poets, the beats, E.E. Cummings, Maxwell Bodenheim, the West Village, Edmund Wilson, mapping all this, right? New York School, Schuyler, Ashbery, Kerouac, Stevens, Amiri Baraka, Hetty Jones. You know, a lot of poets lived in this neighborhood and still do. What does that mean? It means something. The Chelsea Hotel, right? It's not an accident, right? This is a nexus of psychic power in our planet. That location, that specific ground. Why? There's layers and layers and layers of karma built up there and energy. The poetry is one way of hearing that. People hear the ghosts. They transcribe the invisible. They don't even know why. They're hearing it. They have to write it down. Prose can be like that. Faulkner is like that. Faulkner's incredible. Faulkner's almost like poet's prose, I would say. He just invents his own words and shit. You know, I mean, The Sound and the Fury is like a language poem. Like, it's fucking insane. You know, there is this like crisscrossing and weaving between real life and the art. you know, and so being a performer, being a magician, applying magic to everything, right? Like, you know, like Bill Murray, right? How Bill Murray goes through the world like washing dishes or whatever, or like, you know, being a clown. I think just having sort of a magical childlike Peter Pan, drawing all the time, playing, right? Playing your way through the world, going through the world like a poet, through everything, 24-hour a day job. It's the logical conclusion, I think. If being a poet is a 24-hour a day job, then everything is a poem. And you're just cutting off little pieces of it to write down for the page, but it's also here, it's also there. And what does it mean? You know, being at Gem Spa, being at the church. These locations have like these amazing, profound presences and energies. They're metaphors and symbols in and of themselves. They don't need to be explained necessarily. This is just a way of showing people, here is how a poet lives, walks through the world. Here's where they live. Here's how they look. Here's how they dress. Here's how they talk to each other. You know, this is important. This is one reason why, right, Dharma Bums is so important. The Six Gallery reading. He describes, all Kerouac's work is sort of describing a bohemian, poetic way of living. Going through the world as if it's sacred, as if it's consecrated, as if it's magical. Excluding nothing. I mean, you can have a job and do that. You know, everything is part of the karmic kind of like push and pull, and you know, the tingling energies. Poetry is an incantatory, hypnotizing, relaxing, mesmerizing, rousing, breathtaking. It can do a lot of things. And it's such a basic part of our equipment. You know, it is just this. It's really just the person and the voice. It's the most elemental. And so, you know, we've stepped into an era where there's recordings, the reading. You know, I think poets need to expand the role, right? And it's natural to take it. I mean, most poets are still writing, you know, figurative, kind of framed works, and that's fine. I don't know if I will write. I mean, the question is sort of like, will I continue to do this forever? I think Ashley likes my. They've been reading my Myself Included book, which is poems I wrote from like 2014, 13 to like 2018. And so it's before I switched over to doing like straight diary poems. And which is weird because I was doing the show, right? I've been doing my TV show, which is a diary form, more or less, since 2014. And so the poems actually sort of imitated the show, really, more than anything. You know, I didn't know who Joanne Kiger was when I started doing Scenes from a Life. It was more just like, I don't know what the influence as far as like doing like a serial. Maybe that was more like from comics, maybe. You know, the early inspirations for Scenes from a Life were more like John Porcellino and Harvey P. Carr and Crumb. It was more like, but also like Frank O'Hara in Apollinaire. It was like an I do this, I do that. You know, and Schuyler, right? Schuyler, the window poem. The whole idea with Scenes from a Life was like it's a window poem, except it goes everywhere. Like Schuyler, right, is famous for these sort of window poems where he'll sit at his window in the Chelsea Hotel or wherever, and he'll just sort of transcribe what he sees. It's like a landscape, but it's also his mind. It's a portrait of his mind. And so it's like you're getting like the radio address of like his thought processes, but you're also getting, once again, he's transcribing the real landscape into a metaphorical system and into like a symbolism. Into he's giving it emotional meaning. He's imbuing it. It's almost like a Rorschach, I suppose, where like the psychology of the poet reads into the landscape, or interprets the landscape in a certain way I mean, that's the role of the artist, I suppose, right? Is to spin it and exaggerate it. But I think realism, uh, it's sort of about like exposing the magic beneath the so-called realism. What is actually realism is not as banal or boring or like humdrum or uneventful as people would have you believe. I think it's a way of trying to get people to for me, a big part of the purpose was trying to get people to focus on real life as a sort of meditation and presence. Presence is a big part of it. Everything that I study kind of teaches presence, or presence is one of, meditation, or in New York School even is very much about presence. Whereas, like, I think reflecting and writing and in prose sort There's just no way. Should I keep going? There's no way I'm muted. Now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now? Please tell me you can hear me. Is this some joke? Is this some Zoomer joke? You can hear me now. You couldn't hear me before? That sucks so bad. I was talking for like 20 minutes. I was talking for an hour. You couldn't hear me before. Fuck. That's not true. I hope that's not true. That was like one of my best fucking improvs I ever did. Oh, 2023. All right, it's great. 2023 is great. You really couldn't hear me. I got to go back and watch it. That is like the worst tragedy of my life. This always happens to me. Anytime the magic happens, the gods have to come in and stop it. There's no way I was muted. It had to have gotten all that. Please, God, tell me I got all that. You can't sneak into my building ever again, okay? I'm going to the open mic in Williamsburg. Perhaps I can meet you afterwards. Let me know where you're at. You've been hanging out at the library. There's no way I was muted. That's impossible. My life is over. If it was muted when you joined, then it had to have, well, I took a phone call in the middle of it, which I think muted it. But I had people watching for a long time. So, I had 2 people watching for a long time. There's no way they were watching it if it was fucking muted. I'm sorry, they just were not. Unless one of them was you, which I'm not sure if it was. Did you just join? Come to the library. Why do you hang out at the library all the time? You're really that into the library? We joined and it was muted. Okay, well, I'll have to go back. I do like the library. Maybe I'll meet you there after the Pete's thing. We're about to enter Trader Joe's. You're seriously watching me as you're in Trader Joe's? Oh, man, I met this guy last night who works at Trader Joe's. I was like, fuck, that sucks. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I should probably go get a job. You know, literally Monday, I should probably just go out and get a job. I don't know what I'm going to do. I am so fucked. I need to make some money this month. I need to sell some books. I need to sell about $1,600 worth of books. Does anybody want to pay me $1,600 for one of my books? Or all of my books? You're going to church? Which church? No, you do not want to pay me $1,600 for my books. That's a hard no. Oh, well, what else did I expect from these ungrateful little prigs? These little snobs. They all went to Exeter Academy. Phillips. See you tonight. Alright, we'll see you then. I did not ghost you, okay? I don't need to fucking respond to every goddamn message every second, okay? Look, I'm really stressed right now. Things are really spinning out of control quickly, okay? I might be homeless by the end of the fucking weekend. We don't even know. Shit got real. Not really. I mean, everything's fine, but it's cruel the way that these people can treat tenants. Thank you. All right, praying. I've been praying too. That's probably why my life fucked up. I shouldn't have started praying. Threw my life all out of whack. Usually when you start meditating, that's when your life falls apart. Because suddenly you're paying attention. You're like, oh, fuck, I need to change everything. See you tonight. Nick. Who's Nick? Who is that? He's from Reno, or... I've got an electrician coming. I really hope that was not muted. I really hope it was just muted for Ashley, because... Oh, okay. Nick's gonna be there. All right, cool. I look forward to meeting Nick. Thank you for, you know, forcing my creative efforts onto these poor, unfortunate young people. It's really a shame. Or can you get me into like Paper Magazine or Nylon Magazine, or I need a fucking career. You know, I need an apartment. Suddenly, you saw it happen live on the internet. This is the symbolism of Dante. This is the Inferno. No, I've been through the Inferno. The Inferno was 2016. It's time for paradise. I'm ready to move up. I'm ready to go to a better apartment. I'm ready for a townhouse. To be honest, it couldn't get any better than this. This is ultimately the greatest apartment on planet Earth. I hate to say it. This is the greatest place on planet Earth, and it's worth it. I don't know. It's worth it. It's so beautiful. I live every moment in extreme, gorgeous appreciation and just calm reception, domestic tranquility. Then they're gonna bring the buzzsaws in. They're gonna rip the guts out of my wall. They're gonna kick me out of my ass. They're gonna throw all my shit on the street. It's fucking criminals. Oh shit. Well, bottoms up, everybody. We got 33 more minutes. I can't believe I've only been doing this for 87 minutes. I literally had a phone call in the middle of it. Oh, I really hope that wasn't muted. That was like the greatest. Can we get a lip reader? Can I get closed captioning even though it was muted? Like, that was seriously like the greatest shit I ever did on a live stream. There were people watching. There's no way they were watching if it was muted. Unless they're just like, wow, this guy's really thinks he's saying something. We can't hear shit. I wish they would have said something in the fucking chat. Alright, anyway, what the fuck was I talking about? I was getting into some really interesting shit about God and poetry. It's about God, okay? It's not a fucking joke. You don't get into poetry to make money, really. To make a career out of it. I mean, that's one way, but like, you do it because it's sacred, and life is sacred, and it's the truth, and everything else is a fucking lie. And are just hyped. I mean, it's beautiful. It's all beautiful. I love civilization. I just wish it wasn't such a penal colony. It's like, we could make this really work for more people. It doesn't have to be like, let's enslave all. Well, it was, okay, degrowth. Fascism is planned degrowth. It's like they want to decimate the working class. They want to destroy our buying power, destroy our wages. They want us to not have any market power at all. That's what they're doing. Inflation, raising the rent every fucking place, kicking rent controlled people out. This apartment would be 5-6 grand or something if it was, or I don't know, four, probably five, I'd say. Like, that's worth more than human life at this point. Oh boy, what's gonna happen? I don't have that much stuff. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm an idiot. I'm too transparent. I'm too honest. I'm a dumbass. Okay, anyway. The interview. Now that they're gone, I can talk about the interview again. What was the first thing she asked me? Well, other than New York school, what are my influences? Which I was kind of caught off guard because that's one of those questions that, like, just having that information at hand, trying to think of it out of thin air, it's not always easy. I should have named. There's just tons of shit. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things that you could just be endless. Um, I don't even want to get into it again right now because it's just like. Um, what else? What else happened in poetry this week? uh, who gives a fuck? I don't know. I need to plan for the future. I need to get bigger and better live streams. I mean, I'll probably be living with Erkin. He's got a studio in his basement where he can, like, you know, he's got all the cameras. He's been trying to get us to go out there, but it's out in Midwood. So I'm, like, kind of dragging my feet about it, but I'm like, maybe that's the next move. I don't know. The dream is over. I don't know. I thought it would be onward and upward. There's supposed to be a big change. I mean, I would like to be able to afford an apartment in Manhattan and just continue to do what I'm doing. My life is literally perfect. Of course, it couldn't continue. I got to the party late, as usual. And, I don't know. As long as I can just keep sustaining the performances, you know? Like, the living circumstances are nice. Like, this is definitely, like, a super nice, you know, it's heaven. But, like, I could live in fucking Bushwick or Ridgewood. So Ashley's friends, they predicted, well, I'm not even going to say it, but Ridgewood is what they predicted, basically. Let's just say that. I think Ridgewood's expensive, for one thing. Like, you know, I'll live anywhere I can get a room for, like, somewhere around $700. And I'll figure out how to make it work somehow. I can make money from my art. I know I can, in Washington Square Park. I'm ready to get rich as fuck. Like, everything's working. Everything's going according to plan. If I could just cause some kind of huge publicity uproar, that wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. If that means getting arrested or making some kind of, like, political, you know, like, movement out of my squatting, or not squatting, but, you know, like, come on. Or just trying to live a gentle life in a normal human life. Walking, reading out loud your poetry in bars to other humans, eating good food, not worrying about work, not worrying about money, sitting in the park, talking to friends, spending time with friends, drawing, making movies, making a cheap TV show, playing music, raising our children, going to the library, making books, you know, publishing each other, booking each other on readings, traveling, going on tour. This is what life is. Fuck all the work bullshit. This is what life is. Walking the earth, going on tour, reading in Philadelphia, reading in Florida, reading in Texas, reading in New Mexico, reading in Arizona, reading in California, reading in Europe, reading in Mexico, meeting people in bars, meeting poets everywhere, filming them, putting it on TV. Okay, so this was another issue, okay? Apparently, I think this has been played up, but, like, someone was complaining, or, I don't know, that I film people without their consent, shall we say. Which obviously is a very hot button issue of the day. And, you know, I don't want to do that. I'm not trying to, like, violate anybody's privacy or anything. It's more about, like, it's autofiction, right? I mean, it's not any different than writing about somebody. You're just, like, you're making a portrait of them. You're making a sketch of them. To me, it's like you're in the film. I don't know, like, as an artist, right? Like, I think being transgressive and potentially even criminal is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, if it's in the name of like doing the right thing, like to be honest, everybody's filming everything and people want to be filmed. Maybe not everybody, but like, okay, in my one video, every time I film Ashley, she covers her face. Which, like, of course, if you watch it, you're going to think, oh my god, that guy's filming her without her consent. That's so fucked up. It was a bit. I mean, it was a bit. Now she doesn't care if I film her. They all want to be filmed. They're Gen Z. They don't give a fuck. I think that like there's cameras fucking everywhere. Why does the landlord have the right to film you in the hallway? Uh, you know, if you're in my apartment, I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not trying to film people against their will or anything. If somebody expressed like I do not want to be a part of this, take me out, I will take them out. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, but, and this is maybe the same argument that people make about the consent thing, is it's like, usually when I stop to ask people if I can film them, that's when it just completely kills whatever is going on. You know, like, the point is you're trying to get naturalism. You're trying to just get real human behavior, you know? I'm an anthropologist as much as anything. It's about showing the human animal as an animal and behaving. You know, we are animals. We're no different than cats or dogs or anything. Leopards moving through the world, like we are alive and wild. And so the show is sort of like a cultural anthropology and showing raw human behavior, unmediated. It's not narrativized, or it's not scripted, and it's not posed. It's just people talking. It's just life, right? It's just life. Okay, I gotta let this electrician. Okay. So, yeah, I just had to let the electrician in and shit. Uh, yeah, that was no big deal. What did I do with my fucking weed? I'm sure the whole place just reeks of weed. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird having people come into your place and it's all filthy and. Oh, Christ. Anyway. Goddamn. What am I going to read tonight? Jesus Christ, this live stream has been an odyssey, unlike any other. There's just been a lot. Maybe it's just because I smoke too much weed and it just seems that way, but it's felt like there's been just a lot. We've been through a lot in this live stream, and should I read a little poem? Okay, here's what I wrote recently. Let's see about this. Okay. Uh, one for Adorama. Okay, maybe I'll start here. Up the hill, down the hill, we were down. People ask me all the time why I'm not famous. Yeah, I don't know why not either. I've been going to the blind library, sitting in Braille reference. The couches are like prison. Last great time, alone time. New Year's is every day. One for Adorama. How to be unknown. Puma East Coast Guard. The pen is a penis. Minimum effort, maximum air. Spider-Man is a metaphor about a teenage boy's love of jacking off and smoking weed. Paradise Microphone. 1-5, Paradise Microphone. Nebraska house, Maxwell house cans. She uses Wells Fargo to get cash in 42nd Street, A Station, 8th Avenue. Back to life, back to reality. We come in peace. Imagine the closing, part friends with the Berrigans. Standing on Adele, Montefiore, Einstein, currently in stock. Every sweet day left. Character study. Anthropology, live from the world. New York Medusa. Do all religions learn God? Did I burn the apartment down in my sleep? Coming back February 1st, cut me a break. Sneaking into the building, they subpoenaed my live streams. Judging my lifestyle is none of your business. Entering the building without permission was the issue. Life scare, end up with piece of mail on the door. You should have come to the tea party. Illegally trespassing. A girl talking about her poetry walking down 8th Avenue as we go to the train, filming people without their permission. Forget it ever happened. Loud knocks on the door, jumping to conclusions. All the tarot astrology said this week would bring a huge surprise. Your life would change. Glass blowing chiropractor, pull your groin. In studio where she's constantly clocking for street, 2 backgrounds. I'm a bad person, check it out. There are more wheels in the classroom compensating. A bat flew into our room when we were kids. I'm not worried. Streets roam. Okay, so yeah, I mean, live from the world. Maybe I'll read those at the thing tonight. How long was that? Like 2 minutes? It's about right. Christ almighty. Okay, well, anyway, keep the poetry alive at all fucking costs. They were nice, to be honest. They just want to know if they can get in and fix the fucking electric and shit. You know what I mean? Like, they can see I'm a studious. They're probably thinking, oh, this guy's a student. What? Who is this guy? He's a student. He's a student. Okay, so we're gonna do 11 more minutes. What do you want to talk about? In the chat, just let us know. Any subject. Okay, so I just want to live my life in peace, and hopefully there will be some act of God that allows me to maintain my residence here because it's the greatest place on earth. I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm staring at a clock tower right now, and there's children playing across the street. I think they really influenced my work. Then you should be nice to us. What are you? The children of the corn. These kids, I feel like I'm Mr. Wilson in Dennis the Menace. I feel like I'm a Charles Grodin character. I'm like, these kids are driving me insane, Clifford! Ah! I'm having a nervous breakdown because of these goddamn children! This dog, Beethoven! Jesus Christ! I want to kill the fucking thing! No, I'm just kidding. That was, oh, there goes my audience. My Nielsen ratings just tanked. Oh! I did my Grodin impersonation and the audience fled. Nobody. It's too hip for the room! Watch out or I'll do my Grodin again. Or I'll do my ukulele act. Maybe I was too honest. That's my problem, is I open my fucking mouth. You gotta keep your fucking mouth shut, okay? Those are the two greatest things in life. Never rat on your friends, always keep your mouth shut. Always keep your mouth shut. I forgot. I always open my mouth and say everything. I mean, that's what my work is about. It's about total transparency and just blurting out just like too much honesty. Too much fucking truth. Too much real identity. Too many real names. Too many. I mean, every fucking poet is talking about how they want to read gossip and smut. Hans. Booby. I'm your white knight. I'm Mr. Gossip and Smut. I went to poetry reading last night, of course. Like I do every fucking night. Instead of hanging out with you, I was in goddamn Bushwick. Or whatever the fuck. Godforsaken shitty Bushwick. I came home because I wanted some fucking peace and quiet to myself, god damn it. I don't owe you every second of my time, okay? 2023 is about boundaries. God damn it. He certainly changed his tune, didn't he? Well, they have my contact information anyway. Okay, whatever. Boundaries, whatever. This is the person who made a joke out of my consent guide. It's about consent, Ashley. My friends thought you were doing something else. Well, they are wrong, okay? They are wrong. Whatever they thought, they're wrong. I was at home reflecting on my poetry and probably just resting because I'm tired as fuck. I'm incredibly tired and run down because I'm Mr. fucking Poetry, eating gluten and dairy pizza every night. No one's betraying anyone, okay? It's all just a big fucking, everybody's backstabbing everybody else, everybody's fucking around with everybody, okay? It's inevitable. Get used to it. That's just New York, okay? There's always somebody hotter, there's always somebody with more status, more of a name, more famous than you. I didn't betray anybody. I was true. I walked home under the L train in Bushwick, and then I got on the motherfucking thing. And I rode the motherfucker to... I rode the L. I got on the L, actually. I walked under the JZ train, and then I got on the L. I rode it from Montrose. I walked to Montrose. You know, I can't go back to Bushwick. I've been there. I lived there for fucking my whole life. When am I gonna go? I gotta live in Washington Square Park. It's the only way. I live and work there. Okay, whatever. You have our location. Find us tonight. They are in the shop. I love the intro they did for you on Monday, by the way. It was phenomenal. Ashley, we are in the shop. Ladies and gentlemen, Ashley. What is the deal with the library? Is the library going to become cool now? There's no way the library is going to be like a cool bar. Didn't somebody said it was basic? Somebody the other day said it was basic. I like the library, which means there's no way it could be like a cool place. It's cool, says Ashley. Are a bunch of Dime Square people going to hang out there now? What is today? Friday? Jesus Christ. Oh, God. I need more excitement and good luck in my life. I'm experiencing turbulence. I'm going through extreme amounts of turbulence. I need more sex, more drugs, more rock and roll, more poetry, more apartment. I need more domestic tranquility, more reading time, more couch, more blanket, more good vibes, more friendliness. Gentleman's agreement, a handshake. I wouldn't even want to be published by these bastards. They're not good enough. There's not a publishing house. Maybe Soft Skull Press. Who would publish me? City Lights. City Lights I would like. I wanted to be published with United Artists. It's all bullshit. Hobart is a website. Okay, that's not publishing. That's just digital bullshit. I need prints. I need a book. I need a... Who would print my book? Maybe 1080 Press. They're too good for me. We'll see you later. Got to talk to you about last night. Cry, cry, cry. Nothing happened, okay? I went to fucking Bushwick. I read my goddamn poetry. I killed. I chatted. I fraternized with the other fucking clowns and the other knuckleheads. And then I took my dignity. I walked underneath the beautiful L train on the temperate night. And I rode the motherfucker till it just don't ride no more, goddamn-o. You gotta ride it till you hide it, baby. Y'all can't deny it, I'm a fucking lion. Y'all don't wanna fuck with me. Y'all can't deny it, y'all gonna fuck it. Y'all don't wanna fuck with me. Gigging, okay? Gigs, gigs, gigs. I do miss gigs. Oh, I thought you stopped watching. That was literally like a moment of pure, like, forgetting. That was pure forgetting. That was a moment of pure forgetting of the self. I forgot anyone was watching. You're welcome. That was really a pure, unadulterated moment of human. It's about staying innocent. They'll never catch me, man, because I am fucking innocent. And I'm Max Fisher. I'm Max Fisher. You're Human Bloom. I'm not a wealthy industrialist. I'm a young punk-ass pauper. Playwright. Turning my life into art, like Max Fisher. Sic transit gloria. Glory fades. Were you in the shit? Yeah, I was in the shit. Ashley Escobar is Herman Bloom. Not if you've ever fucked before. Would you say you fingered me? That line really was awkward. There was some really awkward shit in Rushmore. None of his other movies really get that awkward. That movie had some shit where you're just like, whoa, this is cringe. This is hard to watch. Not if you've ever fucked before. Would you say that you fingered me? Or that I gave you a hand job? There's a lot of hand jobs going on in that movie. It's glorious. I mean, this year, what are we gonna do? Everybody, the landlords are winning. They're chill about it. Let's experience. They're the white people that bought Manhattan for $24 of fucking little tea kettles and knickknacks and shit. It's the same deal. We're getting the same raw deal. We're all getting fucking owned, and we should fight back. Ian is giving you a look. Are you so you're reading Myself Included? What are some of the poems that you've responded to in that book? Would you say? I'm on the street, everyone. This is Matt Proctor. We're taking over goddamn New York. We're culturally alive. We're not bullshit like everything else. We're not at Comic-Con. We're original. We write our own material. We write our own songs. We play our own songs. We're actors. We're directors. We're poets. We're sex workers. We're dancers. We're pantomimes. We are commedia dell'arte performers. We're cave painters. We're Neanderthal cave painters in France. We're Werner Herzog. We're Zen monks. We are Basho haiku notebook satchel worn wearing, sandal wearing, beach bum, beachcombing, Venice Beach, beatnik, gas house, Taylor Mead, Big John Stud, Beyond Baroque, reading my poetry to the stars, licking frogs to get high, eating animals because they're psychedelic, eating psychedelic animals, getting higher, becoming God, smoking DMT through Ashley Escobar. I like every poem so far. I'm putting it on the blurb, okay? Ashley likes every poem so far. That's back when I wrote poems before I went full diary, like the interview says. And I don't even know if I could write real poems again. I do write poems. It's just they have a number next to them. You could take the number away and it's still the same shit. My mind, I lop a lot more off now. The New York thing got to me. The thing about speed, removing stuff, holes, taking stuff out, shards, cutting your own hair, looking like your poetry, dressing like your poetry, Salvation Army. My poems are Salvation Army. Okay? I've been upcycled by the goddamn thrift industrial complex. The thrift fluencers. The thrift fluencers. I just coined a neologism. I just jismed some neologe in the thrift fluencer category. I think look at this ensemble I've put together today, by the way. I just want people to notice the color coordination here and how it looks wonderful in the pinking light. And that we're wrapping up the show here. We love you all. Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll see you tonight at the library. We'll smoke cigarettes inside. And we'll just the cocktail, the world's longest cocktail party will continue. The endless salon, the endless round table, the endless repartee, the eternal repartee, the whirlwind of quips and epiphanies. Thank you, Ashley. Nice fit, she said. Gen Z, what are you wearing? Nice fit. This is one of my looks, okay? When they make the action figure, or when I'm remembered as a legend who didn't get enough credit while he was alive, didn't get the rewards he deserved in his extreme poverty for most of his youth, for the entirety of his youth. I'm hungry right now. My stomach is pangs. It feels like a frying pan with nothing in it. A hard iron frying pan with grease and burnt chunks of flesh. Ian and I are twinning. Gen Z, you guys are Tumblr. Mood board. You're a human mood board. We both have puffer jackets and corduroy pants. Did you coordinate that? Uh, that's phenomenal. I can't wait to see it. Send me some pics. Love you guys, my posse, my crew. Ian, Noah, Ashley, shout out. Shout out on the live stream. Thank you for watching. You were there. You witnessed it live. For all the people watching after the fact, it's been quite a show, hasn't it? Wow. We avoided the subject artfully in many different ways. Is there any more weed? I need one more puff. God bless you. Go forth and spread consciousness, spread light. Don't settle for the bullshit. Don't settle for the same message as everybody else. Phrase it your own way. Say it in your own words. Say it in your own words. In your own words. This is a short answer question, okay? This is a critical response question. This is an essay question, okay? Life is an essay question. You choose what you write. And to essay is just to talk. And so this is an essay. All my live streams are essays. They are all prose. Life is an open choice. It's not a multiple choice question. It's not a fill in the bubble question. It's an essay question. Life is not an IQ test. It's an open road. Life is a highway. You gotta ride it. You gotta ride the fuck out of it. Look at this beautiful day. It's all we have. It's slipping through our fingers. And we'll never die. Consciousness is eternal. We've lived for 100 million fucking years. And longer. And we're changelings. The corporeal forms shift. They shapeshift, but everything comes back. Nothing ever leaves. We miss it. That is the temptation of our body and our tangibility. It's a temporary chemical reaction. Grief. It's a withdrawal symptom. And with that, I withdraw. Not from the fight. I mean, we keep fighting. The fight is stronger than ever. I mean, we're just spreading, connecting, networking. Friends are being made. Betrayals are happening. Backstabbing. Double timing. Everybody's fucking everybody else. It's gonna get messy. The creative process is messy. People care about you 1 minute, the next minute they don't give a fuck. They don't even want to look at you. It's normal. That's all is fair. One day you're on the fucking top of the world, playing Madison Square Garden, walking down the street by the Empire State Building. The next minute you're been drop kicked your ass back out to fucking New Jersey. Staten Island. Not today, though. Today we're in the heart of the matter. The heart of the heart. Where we belong. Where we will forever stay. Good night, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. We'll be live streaming soon.